I forgot my water. Just get my water.
I think we are live. Yes, we're live.
Awesome.
Good evening, Ms. Jones.
Good evening.
Do you prefer Ms. or Miss?
Ms.
So I can't sing, have you met Miss Jones? No?
You can say what you want. Not boss
I
you.
think, have you met Ms. Jones?
I mean, you can.
Okay. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a daft mood. I apologise in advance. I've been doing a presentation all afternoon. Good evening. Welcome. Let us know if you're watching live. We're really pleased to be with you tonight. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Heidi, she, her. This is Kate, also she, her. She, they. I'll also go with they. I'm not fussed. Just not he. I'm not a he. And we're gonna do some stuff with you tonight around thriving in a neurodivergent household. Punctuality is key, says Karen. Karen, this is on time for us. Also, time isn't real.
It's not real.
It's not real. So let us know if you're watching along live, if you want to or not. We're not the boss of you. If you want to give this a share, you can give it a share. For those of you who don't know, this is kind of the culmination of a 5-day challenge. But don't worry if you haven't been here for 5 days. It's totally cool. Tonight is like a nice free bonus workshop. And we're really pleased that you're here. You might notice that people are dropping angry faces. That's people who know me, and that's people who know how to work the Facebook algorithm. So we have a bit of an angry face amnesty at the beginning of lives, because basically Facebook love controversy. Who knew? So if you drop angry faces now, that will boost our algorithm and more people will see this video in the live stream and go, or not, we're not the boss of you.
You do what you want.
Yeah. If you're demand avoidant, you're like rocking in the corner now because I've given you so many instructions. Had the not real conversation about time with my eldest earlier on. Paula says, I actually did more of the 5-day challenge than I thought. You know what, Paula? It's so funny. We were talking just now because I've already drawn the winners and I was telling Kate who had won. And I was like, what do we do if Paula wins? We promised she wouldn't win. Anyway, stick with us to see whether that has come to fruition or not. So we're going to take you through a bit of stuff with you tonight. Let me just tell you what we're going to do. We've got for you a little bit of a workshop, 5 things to know for life in a neurodivergent household, which Kate and I have got together and sort of put together our 5 things that we wish we'd known and we would like other people to know as parents in neurodivergent households or parents of neurodivergent kids. After that, we're going to award our prizes for our 5-day challenge. And then with your permission, no, we're not. We're going to do it the other way around. We're going to show you the new thing we've got for you. And then at the end, we're going to award the prizes because we're clever like that. Because that way we think you might stay till the end. Or not, whatever. We're not the boss of you. Paula did them all on the wrong day. Okay, so let me just find.
I did really want someone to subvert it, so I'm all about that.
They were all very well behaved. I was remarkably surprised.
Oh.
Right, let me see if this is right. And let me make it slideshow.
Like, that's the most couple.
We do look like a married couple.
Yeah.
I mean, we're cute. We could totally pull it off if we weren't monogamous with other people. We could totally be a couple. I mean, I'm never say never. That's my position on that one. I don't know what yours is.
I'm probably not going to put it out there on this forum right now.
No? Okay. But for anyone that's wondering, no, we're not. We're work wives.
But if we were.
Work wives. So yes, so we're going to take you through this tonight together, and we're really excited to share this with you. It's something we've been working on together, and the thing we're going to show you shortly is something that we're really excited to have you join us for. So yeah, let's crack on, shall we? We've got 40 odd people. If you haven't yet commented and you want to let us know where you are and who you are and where you're from in a blind date kind of way, you can do that if you wish. Again,
I can't comment on this on the chat in StreamYard, but so that's probably for the best because I'd get distracted. But
I don't think I can either.
Okay, so I'm not. The reason I'm not commenting is just because I can't, not because I'm not very attentive.
Oh, I don't. I can.
Okay, fine.
Karen says I'm me from here. Okay.
That'll do.
That'll do us, Karen. All right. So 5 things to know for life in a neurodivergent household. Kate, should we do some quick introductions for anyone who isn't familiar with us? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to just do you want to go first? Oh, Kate, is it your birthday? Not you, Kate Berry.
Ah,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. We won't sing happy birthday to you because I don't know about you, but one of the things I really hate is the happy birthday song, and I don't know what to do with my face when it happens. So my gift to you is going to just be not singing that and doing that.
But you can bank it, and if we ever see you face to face, I'm happy to give you the bumps.
Not a euphemism.
I should have known that I was like a sensory seeking autistic child, because when it was my birthday, if they didn't offer to give me the bumps, I would insist that they gave me the bumps. I want the bumps. Can we have the bumps? And if I was at a birthday party and the child didn't want the bumps, I was like, I'll have their bumps.
I mean, it's also clear in retrospect, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Do you reckon I'm a vestibular input seeker?
With proprioception.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Lovely. So, introductions.
Yeah, I mean, I suck at. I'm never more awkward than when I'm doing introductions. So, yeah, I'm Kate Jones. I'm autistic, ADHD, psychotherapist, chief communications officer at NeuroCurious. LOL. I say LOL because I feel like I'm the least effective communicator a lot of the time, but there we have it. NeuroCurious has a sense of humor. And one of my favorite things to do is hang out with Heidi and make things and deliver things and just be really unmasked and just a bit ridiculous, really. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
Amazing. I'm Heidi. I've got an echo. That's a bit annoying. Is it at your end too? Can you turn me down a little bit at your end? Oh, there you go. I'm an autistic ADHD adult, parent to an autistic ADHD teenager, and I'm founder of Yotas Matters. And I also very much enjoy doing this kind of ridiculousness with Kate. I think we're a good team. Other people seem to think we're a good team. And I absolutely love giraffes, and all of my dresses have pockets. Thanks for asking.
My favourite thing about your intros is you always state that you're an adult. Like, people might not get it, so you're going to lead with it. Folks, I'm an adult.
It's part of my affirmation cycle. I'm hoping that one day I might believe it myself.
I like it.
I say it enough.
It's good.
I am an adult. I'm a qualified adult, Kate.
Got it.
Okay, right. Let's see. So, what do you need to know and why do you need to know it? So, we're going to give you our 5 areas that we feel are the things that all households need, but particularly neurodivergent households. So, first up, come on, Kate, this is your thing. And we have covered some of this a little bit in this week's challenges for those who have been here. But Kate's going to give you a little bit of a whistle stop of the amygdala. What do you need to know and why do you need to know it?
Okay, so the amygdala is a little almond-shaped things in your brain, and it's responsible for a few things, but one of them is the perception of threat. So if you're a neurodivergent person and you perceive the world, you have differences in your way of perceiving the world, because that's all sensory information, your amygdala is going to perceive risk that perhaps neurotypical people of different neurotypes don't. That's legitimate. The way when your threat responses are triggered, you're not going crazy. That's not a moral failure. That's the difference in your wiring. The thing is about your amygdala is that it's the fire alarm of the brain, right? But what we know about fire alarms is they don't discern between whether your toast is burning or whether your house is on fire. Their only job is to tell you there's some alarming information that you need to deal with now. And when that happens, the frontal cortex of your brain just goes offline, because that's where the functions of that aren't needed. Your only job in the moment when that fire alarm is going off is to save your own life. So in a neurodivergent house, it's really important, home, family, it's really important to know that everyone's threat system is slightly different, perhaps, and what sets yours off might not set somebody else's. What somebody else might, just going about their daily life, might set yours off. You might be triggered by someone else just doing everyday things like breathing. Your response to them is valid, and that doesn't mean that they've done a bad thing. So the deal with the amygdala is, and polyvagal theory, which is what we'll kind of get into, is really understanding how you respond when your nervous system is triggered and when you perceive a threat in the world. And if you have a marginalized identity, and the more intersections you sit on in terms of marginalized identity, so whether it's race, whether it's gender, sexuality, neurotype, the more threat that you're going to encounter out in the real world, that's true. So your amygdala might be really sensitive to risk, but that's real. So get me back on task, Heidi. What am I doing? You need to know.
Why do you need to know it? Why do you need to know that about the amygdala?
Because you need to know what's happening. Because half of the problem is like when you're dysregulated and when you're activated and alarmed, it can feel like a heart attack. It can feel like you're dying. And the story you tell yourself in that moment about what's happening and what you can do and that you aren't powerless, most often you're not powerless, sometimes you are, is the key to regulating yourself, but also helping your kids and your partners and whoever's around you to feel safe enough for that frontal cortex to come back online and create safety. So, yeah.
That's it. Polyvagal in like 3 minutes. Well done. It's almost like you know what you're talking about. It's almost like you're a properly trained psychotherapist. I know. Okay. So the second thing that you need to know if you're living in a family home, but particularly if you're living in a neurodivergent home, or you're living with other neurodivergent people, or you yourself are or think you may be neurodivergent, is the thing about the brain train. So the brain train is our way to describe the experience that you have when your amygdala is triggered and when your thoughts and sometimes your feelings, or both, and your central nervous system, or all, and or your central nervous system runs away with you. So the way that we describe it is, if you've ever seen the scene in Ghost where Patrick Swayze, oh God love him, is on the train, and the homeless guy is on the train and he's shouting, "Get off my train, get off my train." And Patrick Swayze is refusing to get off the train. Okay, that's what happens in your body in a threat response. So it's understanding that that is a normal response and that is completely natural. And given the circumstances, the situation, and the stimulus, what is happening in your brain, your body, your emotional responses, and your central nervous system is completely normal. And the reason you need to know that is because if you don't know that, and if you don't know how to recognize that in yourself and in the people who you love and care for, then the brain train will ride you all the way to the end of the line and dump you in a siding full of shame and confusion. And then you'll have to walk back home in the rain. An analogy. You won't have to. I mean, you might have to live with the foxes for the rest of your life. But it's about knowing how to spot that that spiraling that happens without shaming yourself for it, without making it wrong, without attaching blame to that, without getting pulled further into that spiraling thought, feeling, emotional, sensory overwhelm process. So that, not that you never have those responses, but so that those responses aren't in the driving seat of your life all the time. And the bit that's linked to that is that when you're able to recognize that in yourself and you're able to soothe yourself around when those things happen, and you're around other people who are able to validate those experiences, you can get back to the place more quickly where you're able to be back in the opposite of that, which is when you're actually in the driving seat of the train and you have choices around whether you're on the train, whether you're off the train, whether you're on the platform waiting for another train to come along. You've got a lot more control over what is going on in and around your body and your emotional state and your central nervous system. So it's not about never having those responses, but it's about understanding where those responses come from, what happens, being able to identify them in yourself and in other people in your household, pouring tons of love on that so that you can get back to the place where you know you're going to be regulated, which is your gut, your kind of your essence. And we talked about that in the 5-day challenge that we've just done.
It's about building capacity to interrupt ourselves in those processes as well, because when you can interrupt it and just buy yourself a minute to think about what you need, what would be a kind thing for yourself, rather, like, can you just stop for a minute? Do you have to go with it, or can you just buy yourself some time? One of the things we do is discount the fact that we might have more time than we think we do, and that everything can feel like a fait accompli and a rush in those moments.
And the panic of that, you know, as someone, I know that we've had this experience, and probably most people watching us, if you're someone who is or thinks they may be neurodivergent, even if you're not, this is a human experience. It's not something that's peculiar to neurodivergent people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that we're much better at getting on brain trains because we've been doing it more. Because
we bloody love trains.
Yeah, we love trains. Oh, of course we do. You know, we're a bunch of animacs. You know, but the reason why it can be so frightening is because when you don't know that about yourself, you genuinely do feel in the moment like you have no power, no control. And if you're someone who experiences that brain train experience as a full-blown meltdown situation, it can be very frightening. And for children and young people, it can also be very frightening. So it's understanding that, and also knowing that when you're on that train and when that, you know, that man who is homeless is shouting in your face, that is not the time when you're going to make the best decisions. So it's being able to sit that out and knowing how to apply the brakes without having to pull the emergency stop button and throw everyone up against the windows. So it's kind of like, it's understanding that process. It's such a good analogy. I love it.
Really, you really get some mileage out of this metaphor.
I could ride this all the way
to the end of the
all the way to No One Is Listeningsville. Yeah. People are sharing stories about when people rang the fire brigade.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
So. Oh, and that thing about trusting your gut is,
yes,
your gut is trustworthy, but when you're really dysregulated and panicked and your only job is to save your life, you might make a different decision than you would if you were making it from a regulated place. Your gut is often really trustworthy, but trust it when it's like, if you don't have to save your life, if you can get out of the position where you need to just save your life in that moment, it would make probably a better decision from a regulated place.
And it's also, I think we've talked about this week in the challenge, is that if you're not someone who has historically had time and space to be in that place where you can hear what that inner voice is saying, it's really difficult to recognize what your gut is telling you and to trust it. So there's a piece around what Kate and I are trying to do in this work and in all the work that we do, is to hold space for people to really get quiet. Whatever that looks like. That doesn't necessarily mean lying still and humming, although for some people it is definitely a humming experience. But it's to give yourself a bit of time and space so that you can get curious about these things, so that you're not on, like, you know, running at 100 miles an hour all the time, that you're able to give yourself a little bit of processing time around these things, which are important things around who you are, how you show up in the world, and how you interact with other people. Let me see. What exactly am I riding? I mean, whatever's on offer, Paula. I don't even go there. The brain train experience happened to me today, dealing with the deadline for tribunal evidence, and the LA submitted damaging lies without evidence in the last-minute statement with only 30 minutes until submission deadline. I've had that experience, Maiden. I've had that experience. Yeah, that's very familiar to me, and I don't know what it makes you feel sick. Just give me 1 second. I've got a feeling. I'm going to skip on to the next slide and let you start the next one, but I've got a feeling that Chris is about to turn up and Theo's in the bath. Do you want to start with the boundaries, and I'll just make sure that he's got the door shut? Yeah.
So when I talk about boundaries, I'm talking about basically what is and is not okay with you, for you, or for me. And as neurodivergent people, we often don't have our boundaries affirmed, or we're told that our perception of what is and isn't okay with us isn't right somehow. So if we say, oh, that's too loud, that's too hot, that's too whatever, because our perception of the world, as people with sensory differences, is different to that of the majority, we can get kind of gaslit and told that, oh, don't be ridiculous, it's not, it's fine. And so we lose faith in our trust in ourselves. So that also sensory boundaries, I think, are the first boundaries to get good at setting and knowing just for ourselves. Like we talk about protecting protecting our field. Holding your field is one of the sessions we did in Unstoppable Parents, and it's like the first field you have to hold is yourself. What are you noticing in yourself? What do you need? Do you need less or more noise around you? Do you need more holding? Do you need a visually quieter space? And setting boundaries for your body and your being is the first round. And then working out from you, okay, what about the people closest to me? How do I set boundaries? How do I feel about setting them? Can I do that confidently? Do I feel bad? Because once you can know what you need and be not apologetic about it, just compassionate to yourself, then you can help people to do that for themselves too. We can help our kids with their boundaries, but we can't really teach them to be any better with them than we are for ourselves. So when we talk about this, we start with sensory, start with the self, and then we work out with the close friends, family, acquaintances, and in the world, so that you can really protect your space and feel safe and respected.
Yeah. Really interesting. Karen says, I want to protect my field, that I prefer that to holding it. I like that language, Karen. Yeah, definitely. I think it's really, this is really key. Like, one of the things that I didn't understand before I knew I was neurodivergent was how important sensory experiences were to me and how dysregulating they were to me. And I could never work out why. So like just now, Chris arrived, the dog was barking. I couldn't think, and I'm trying to tell him what's happening and I'm getting all flustered and I'm getting on the train, but because I know that about myself, I can be kinder to myself in those moments. That's why it's important. This is all about being kind to yourself and the people that you love and care for. And when you know that for the other people that you live with, if you know you've got a sensory seeking young person in your home and you know that after a day at college, they need to be outside kicking a football for 20 minutes before you're going to get any sense out of them. Or in contrast, they need to be under a weighted blanket for an hour before you can have a conversation about what you're going to have for tea. These are the things that are all going to help you be a much calmer, more regulated household, which in essence is what we're all hoping for. And it's the things that non-neurodivergent people don't need to think about as much. Like, yeah, sure enough, they have to consider their sensory needs, and but that usually goes as far as or sometimes goes as far as that loud telly is annoying me, turn it down. For us, because our whole system is wired differently, our sensory dysregulation can have such an impact on every element of how we show up and how we feel and how we're interacting with the world.
Yeah, it's the difference between that TV is really annoying me to you've just touched me in a way that I won't be able to not feel for at least 3 hours, and I'm in pain because there's a smell that I can now perceive, and this is now too much. I was just thinking about you and what you did just then being like the perfect example. You had the opportunity to just say to me, can you hold this for a minute while I go and attend to my needs and I can go back and be present? But once upon a time, I guess you might have sat through this whole thing, like stressing out that there was a dog barking. Someone will be downstairs. Would they know everything they need to know about what you're doing? Just like clenching and riding it out.
Yeah. And being able to say to the other person, I know you've just arrived, but I'm on a live. Can you just take the dog out? So it is about, and that's a boundary. That's not, boundaries are not like, I will not, and this is non-negotiable. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're just understanding what you need from the people around you and how to ask for it and how to let them do the same. And it's so important when you're a neurodivergent household to be able to do that, particularly around your sensory needs.
Yeah, I had a conversation with a client last week where I was saying, for me, boundaries aren't rejections. Boundaries are love, because boundaries are like me telling somebody what I need is this is the field guide of how to love me. Can I have the field guide of how to love you?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This is interesting. Claire says, my daughter goes situationally mute. How do I get school to understand no matter how much time you give her, she just can't speak? I think that's a conversation for sure. And it's something that we talk about a lot. We won't cover it right now, Claire, but if you're in our group, please do post it in our group. There were a lot of our parents, myself included. I think that Kate also experiences mutism. We have some good experience around that and we'll help you. Ultimately, it's about helping them to understand that this is a can't, not a won't. And giving them the tools they need to help her regulate so that she can when she's ready to. And also to remind them that in that situation, that's a sign that she's not feeling safe. So that's the communication.
Yeah, and maybe she just needs communication aids because she can't speak in those situations. So rather than asking her to do something that she can't do, perhaps the school could provide AAC or other ways. So that's a really good question, and definitely post it in the group.
Pop it in the group for sure. Okay.
AAC isn't for people who physically can't make mouth words. It's for anyone who needs to communicate without words.
And what does AAC stand for?
Assistive communication.
Assistive communication. I can't remember. I should have checked on you before I asked you.
I always forget what it stands for. But yeah. That super Googleable. Google that.
Okay. Do you have experience of kids going mute situationally in all situations? Yeah, it varies from person to person. Dawn, varies from person to person. Do pop it in our group. Okay, so triggers and regulation. So the reason why you need to know this, that says Tiggers.
Oh my God, that's the best thing you've done today.
Some of our best branding is as a result of misspells and mishears, and I think we've just found one.
Okay, but let me talk about that. Is that
regulation?
Right. So this is it's almost like you did this on purpose so I could say exactly this. People often think that regulation means calm. Regulation doesn't mean calm. Regulation is the right energy for the situation that you're in. So if you're at a trampoline park, regulated would mean tiggering. That's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, you can work on that, but yeah, I like it.
The wonderful thing about this slide is
the wonderful thing about this slide. This slide is a wonderful thing. So what I should have said was triggers, but what we're talking about specifically is understanding, and it links. This is that golden thread of running through from the brain train through to, the amygdala understanding through to the brain train through to boundaries, through to understanding your triggers and your regulation, is understanding for yourself what are your triggers, what arouses you, what calms you. They're the two not extremes even, but they're the two levels of like the sliding scale of arousal, is what is going to calm your nervous system and what is going to not trigger, what's the word, activate your nervous system. And when do you need those things? Because sometimes you do need a trigger moment. You do need your central nervous system to be activated. Like Kate was saying, in a trampoline park, it is appropriate to be triggered. And in a yoga class, it maybe isn't. But equally, that thing of understanding that it goes back to your kind of like your baseline. For some people, my child is one of these people. For some people, stillness and regulation is not being quiet and still. My child is rarely quiet and still. And I remember taking him to an appointment when he was like 6 years old, and it was an osteopath, and we were doing some work on his back and stuff, and he was jiggling on the bed. And she kept saying, right, just stay still. And I was like really embarrassed. And I was like, I'm really sorry that he won't stay still. And she was like, this is fine. This is his still. That's fine. And I was like, oh, this is his still. Okay, that makes sense. So it's understanding for yourself where your safe and social place is, where your regulated place is, where you feel connected and able to tap into that inner voice, that gut feeling. That's what being regulated is about. It's the opposite of being on the brain train, in essence.
The right energy is the energy that serves you in the moment to engage with what you want and need to engage in.
Yeah.
And a trigger is an information point. So when you feel like something has activated you, and so either heightened your energy or really dropped it really low so that you're almost feeling a bit dissociative. So there's anxiety is sort of the high energy, and the sort of sleepy low energy can be a bit dissociative. So when you work out what it is that happened just before that change, you've got a data point, and that's really useful.
Yeah.
And then you've got choice. So do I need to avoid this trigger all the time, or do I just need to have supports around me so that when I encounter this particular thing, I have the best chance of feeling like I have autonomy over my body and I have choice about how I am in that situation. That makes sense.
You know what Ellie says, I know if my daughter is still, then she's not regulated.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Yeah. Some of us are just not some of us are just not built for physical stillness. It's just not in our being. It's just not us. And that's why I always found, for example, meditation so difficult, because my brain is just not still like that. But I have found other things that I know that sensorially people do not enjoy, but I find really regulating, like roller coasters or being given the bumps at birthday parties, for example. So, Kate says, I've just realized that this is the first time this week that I have not felt anxiety in my chest. You two are clearly my regulatory tools. Oh, that's nice, Kate. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that we are regulatory tools.
So
you talk about co-regulation.
Yeah, that's the data point.
Yeah.
So so co-regulation is when you regulate with another person, when the presence of another person helps you to bring your energy in alignment to a place that feels good. We co-regulate before we ever regulate independently. So when you're rocking a little baby, or when little babies aren't expected to just hush, they, like adults, tend to them, but that's something we need right throughout our lives. So when you're saying that right now in this moment you feel like, oh, you haven't got that feeling in your chest, get interested. What is it about this situation? Because you have two people talking and sharing. You've got some, like the community of our chat. It's a really co-regulatory experience of being seen and validated. So know that works for you. Know that when you're really anxious, you might need others around you who are safe, and that's okay. Like as an adult, that is okay. I need that too. That really helps me when I'm struggling.
Yeah.
That's not moral failure. That's not adulting.
And that's one of the things that is often missed for our children, isn't it? When we have the conversations about, removing support or not giving support to children who are, for example, anxious, and and there are conversations about they need to learn to control their anxiety, they need to be exposed to those stimulus and like reduce their sensitivity. And the bit that is often missing is that for anyone, you cannot do that on your own until you've done it with someone else. And that is the bit that is often missing, and it's the bit that I'm often reminded of with my child. He knows himself really well, and he's come such a long way. But we had a really difficult week last week because he started at a new college, and his first day he needed me with him to walk him to different places in college just to help him regulate for that first hour or so. So that's what I did,
And and that thing of like, you need somebody else there first before you can do it yourself. Yes, and it's okay if you always do.
Yes.
It doesn't be like you're working towards a point of complete independence. Independence is an ableist myth. Healthy, like, interdependence, where you keep your autonomy, but you can lean into your people and they lean into you for the things that you need, because you have those complementary functions for each other. It's like how we work. You can do things that I can't do and could never do. It's not my strength, and similar,
and vice versa.
Yeah. So instead of me struggling with the things that I could never do, we just take a strengths-based approach and we do our stuff and we lean in.
Yeah.
That's all right.
And I think that's part of, like, when you're in that safe and social place and you're able to be unmasked with somebody else, and you're able to ask for that help, it's not a big thing. So I don't think I'm oversharing if I say that one of the things that I find really difficult is dealing with conflict. And one of the things that Kate finds really difficult is admin. So quite often she'll write me an email and I'll do her admin for her. I'll fill in a form for her or whatever. And we quite often, not just myself and Kate, but a few of us that are in our like inner circle. That makes us sound like a coven, doesn't it? But you know what I mean. A few of us that are in our like our network, our circle of trust, we'll be like in our chat saying, "Is anyone doing admin? Is anyone working in the office?" And we'll just get on Zoom and have each other in the corner of the screen. But having someone else there means that I will get more done because I've got someone to co-regulate with, even though we're not actually even having a conversation. Sometimes we're
working on completely different things.
Yeah. So yeah, like Emma said, I had such a hard day and a friend body doubled the other day. It made me feel so much better, and it was good to tell the kiddo why I needed to do that. Yeah, I can't I don't know if I can't, but I find it very difficult to clean my house. But if someone comes to help me, I'm like a woman possessed. So it's like I just need, like you say, and I don't think that's ever going to change for me. So, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah. If somebody with an amputee, you wouldn't say, well, we're going to give you this wheelchair, but only until you magically develop, like, or like, we're going to give you these prosthetics, but only until you don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
We don't.
Just in the same way that some of us could, you know, learned French at school and can now go to France and speak fluently. The rest of us still need a phrase book and basically know how to ask where the tourist information centre is, and that's about it, you know. So yeah, we're all different, you know, and you have to know what your strengths are and what your triggers are, or your triggers, and what your regulation points are, and how to like maneuver things to get your needs met so that you can help other people. You know, we're social animals, aren't we? And this idea that just because we're autistic we're not social animals is absolutely ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about the value of community, because this is part of what we've got to show you tonight that is really, really key to the work that Kate and I do, and that we're really keen to do. And I think, do you want to talk to this first, or do you want me to?
Well, I was just going to say, we've sort of covered this a little bit. The community is co-regulation, and is connection, is validation, finding other people who experience the world a bit like you. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but people to say, oh yeah, you're not crazy, you make complete sense in your context, which everyone does, by the way. If you don't understand someone, you don't understand their context. The biggest difference to me, and how kind of happy and at peace I am right now with my neurotype and just being in the world, is autistic community. It's completely changed my life, and that happened first of all through Neuroclastic, and then with you, really, and the people that we work with.
Yeah.
We're so often brought up feeling really different and alien. I cannot tell you how common it is in therapy to hear from neurodivergent adults talking about their experience of childhood, saying things like, I thought I was adopted and that my real parents were going to come for me. I thought I was an alien and I was from another planet. I thought I was. The sense of like, I am ill-fitting in this world. And any minute now, that fantasy is that somebody who does understand me and I will make sense to will come for me. And yeah, just so wild versions of that are just so common. And I think what we get in community with people is like, those people have come and they're not going to whip us out of our lives, but they're going to stay in it with us.
Yeah. I was listening to a really great podcast yesterday. It's called We Can Do Hard Things. Mm-hmm. We Can Do the Hard Things. Anyway, it's a really amazing podcast. And the one I listened to yesterday was about sexual intimacy. But basically, they were talking about the myths around healthy sexual relationships or intimate relationships. Yeah. And she was a sex therapist. She was a sexpert. And one of the things that she was saying was, same as you, in therapy, people have this thing of, we have this idea that we've been sold by whatever it might be. I mean, I'll blame the patriarchy, because I usually do, a bit of capitalism too. Why not? But we've been sold this idea that the way that we work, and I mean, we as individuals, we collectively as a human race, is wrong and broken, so that people can sell things to us to fix it. And actually, by being around other people who have shared experiences and who are able to go, oh yeah, me too. The moment you hear that, you know you're not broken anymore. The moment you hear that, you know that you are not alone, and that you're not weird, and that you're probably not adopted, and you're almost certainly not an alien. So, well, yeah, debatable, but you know, that thing. And she was saying that is the same in all therapeutic spaces, and it's what all therapists know, and what all clients in therapy have a big breakthrough around at some point. So, although Kate and I aren't delivering therapy right now, and although the work we're going to be showing you shortly is not a therapy, it is a kind of a therapeutic space, and it's a space for you to think about those things, and to find other people who can validate you, because it is so important. And you know, when it comes to, go ahead, are you going to say something?
Well, Will I throw you off will you remember what you were going to say if I say this thing?
Probably not, but don't matter. Go on.
All right. I was going to talk about how expensive therapy is to be able to access it privately, and how inaccessible it is through the NHS often. But and everyone who's ever trained to be a therapist will go like, therapy is great and you should be in it. And yeah, I benefited from that massively. But I also know that so much healing comes from community and self-learning and self-work, and don't devalue what you can do in community.
When it's a space where you feel that you can be yourself and show up authentically and be brave,
yeah,
and where it's safe for you,
yeah,
that's the important thing.
Absolutely, for that really.
Yeah, and I also think, oh gosh, Claire, it broke my heart when my daughter said she thought everyone felt anxiety at all times. That was a breakthrough moment for me. I listened to another podcast this week. I'm a podcast whore, by the way, and I make no apology. About a guy who had mirror touch synesthesia, where when you see someone else's physical experiences, you physically feel it in your own body. It's a sensory difference, and he never thought that other people didn't have it, but he thought that the reason he found it so difficult to deal with it was because there was something wrong with him. So even when you think that other people experience the same as you do, even if they do or don't, we still have this inherent amygdala-led response whereby we tell ourselves, or maybe it's more of a brain train, but we tell ourselves there's something wrong with us because we're having these thoughts and feelings and experiences. So it's really important when you're having these thoughts about your neurotype to be able to share that with people in a community like you.
Yeah, and you deserve to be able to tell yourself a better story about yourself. So people to talk a lot about labels and living life beyond labels and how labels are confining. And I think that's often something that's spoken from a real place of privilege, of never feeling like you don't know who your people are, and always being able to sort of look around you and find someone that looks broadly like you. If that hasn't been your experience, then finding a label can be a real exhale, a real like, oh, there are other people who walk through the world like me, and that doesn't feel like a weight, that feels like freedom.
Yes.
And those people, and also if autistic ADHD feels like a label that has heaviness, then you're probably carrying some internalized ableism, and that's okay because we all are. But if you've put a value on it, that means that you feel less than because you're autistic, ADHD, or neurodivergent in some other way. That's the work. And the other thing about labels is that we are all given them, we all carry them. It might be willful, it might be lazy, it might be whatever. Autistic is a so much nicer one to carry.
Yeah. And it's so much kinder when you can choose your own identifying characteristics and labels. You know, like you say, people label you all the time. And the thing about labels, and people say, oh, I don't like labels. I always think, well, I'm terrible at laundry, and if I didn't have labels in all of my clothes that I check every time I put the washing machine on, everything would be that big and, pink. So for me, a label is a care instruction, and if I'm able to say to somebody, I'm autistic, and what that means for me is, then that for me is absolutely valuable. And it's more helpful than I'm a bit too much sometimes, for me personally.
Yeah. It's that, again, this is how to love me, and this is how I will be in connection with you.
Yeah.
And it's different if somebody's given you that and made you feel less than. Like a label or an identity that you choose and own for yourself is different than one that's put on you. So if anyone's not feeling great about their neurotype, that's completely valid. And I don't want to undermine that at all.
Yeah. And even when we talk about internalized ableism, that's not a wrong thing. It's something you can give some time and space to and think about whether that's serving you. And you can, if you need to and want to, reframe that for yourself. We're all victims of what we've been told to think and feel. And I guess the biggest thing for me about being authentic, like be yourself, we talk about this all the time, when people say be yourself, they don't really mean it.
Be more like me.
Yeah, but actually when I'm thinking about being myself, that means that it's okay to show up imperfectly. Otherwise, I'd never get out of bed. And, you know, I think that is a thing that sometimes happens for a lot of us. The dog just landed. He's very excited. He's back. Okay.
To that.
My labels at school were at best vivacious and combustible, and at worst, the naughty kid who explodes over nothing. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that.
I saw a school report of mine the other day, and it was just, she's so disorganized. She's lovely, but she's so disorganized through that. That's all anyone had to say.
Yeah. Mine was always Heidi talks too much. Always. Yeah. Not a label, it's care instructions. Oh, I'm glad you like that, Jay. Okay. So, Joy, sorry. So in that spirit, Kate and I have got something we want to show you, and it's something we've been working on together. Some of our Unstoppable parents have already seen this. They know it's happening. They're already booked on, and they're eager beavers, but we're opening it up to the rest of the world. And the reason we're doing that is in this spirit of understanding the value of community. So we have a small cohort already, and we want to invite you to join us. I'm going to show you what that is. So what next? Now that you know these 5 things about living in a neurodivergent household, all very nice to know, but what do you actually do with that information? And our answer is, it's not the only answer, but our answer is that we've got something new for you. So our new offering is called NeuroCurious. Do you want to explain the logo?
It feels like it goes back a while. There's a bit of a giraffe theme with the Otis matters, because both you and I have misheard the word, because audio processing and deafness, draft as giraffe.
Yeah.
So that became a theme.
It became a big theme. And also giraffes are a big theme in transactional analysis, which is the area of psychology. Isn't it? Psychotherapy? Transactional analysis?
It was a non-violent communication.
Non-violent communication, yeah. And giraffes are freaking amazing. So yeah, don't get me started, but giraffes are one of my special interests. So that's hence the giraffe colouring. The cat is a reference to Curiosity Killed the Cat. And
also that, like, autistic folks tend to be, there's a whole thing about cats and dogs. Dogs really like behaviorism and doing tricks for treats, and when behaviorism is used on autistic people, it doesn't work so well, because we're more cat than dog, generally speaking. So
autistic people are cats.
I feel like we're going to over-explain this, and do they need to know?
Let's not. Yeah, we're so autistic. Like, here's our logo. Let's explain it to you. Anyway, yes. So let us show you what it is. So it's a 12-week program. There are 30 hours of training with me and Kate and guest experts from across the globe, both sides of the Atlantic. Trainings, conversations, reflections about neurodivergence and neurodivergent culture. A chance, God, I can't type. A chance to gain knowledge and the tools you need to advocate more confidently. A community where we celebrate diversity and connect through shared experiences, and a chance to put aside some you time every week. So for those of us who join us on NeuroCurious, every Thursday night, Kate and I will be live in the community, and we're going to show you the stuff that we're going to do together in that community. Some of it, we're going to give you a bit of a taster. And it will take us through to almost Christmas. So we're starting next week, next Thursday, and we'll be together every week live. But if you can't join us live, you can get a replay. You'll have your own online library to access. This might need a little bit of explaining, but let's just say that the working title of the course was The Farting Zone. And when you join us at NeuroCurious, we will explain that in more detail, because if we get into that now, I won't get a chance to show you everything that we've got for you. So this is what we're going to cover in that 12-week program. These are our key themes. So it's a pretty big deep dive into neurodivergence. So sensory processing, your central nervous system, internal scripts, identity, neurodivergent communication, masking, executive functioning, surviving versus thriving, the language of emotions, radical self-compassion, relationships, connection and rejection, and setting boundaries. And every week we'll be working to a different theme, and we'll have a different guest with us for some of the sessions, and we'll have guest trainers with us. I'm going to share that with you in just a minute. But this is designed for parents and carers in neurodivergent homes who suspect or know that they themselves or someone else in their house may be neurodivergent. And it's about uncovering that for yourself and what that means. These are our confirmed guest trainers. Do you want to run through these for us, Kate? Some of these are really worth speaking about.
Yeah, so Jude Apalaki-Olabodum is Chief Decolonizing Officer at Neuroclastic. Jude's going to talk about identity and intersectional identity. I would advise you to go look up Jude on like any platform. I'm a complete atheist, but every time Jude speaks, I feel like they could take me to church. So like I'm so excited about introducing you to Jude. Atiatu is a coach. Again, if you were to check them out on Instagram, it would be asiatu.coach. They are an empowerment coach, but they, again, lots of intersectionality, lots of really deep dives on what it means to walk through the world living on different intersections. But Asiato is going to talk about radical self-compassion, like what it really means to be compassionate and gentle with yourself at a deep level, not the kind of go to a spa, do some bath bombs, like the kind of surface level stuff that gets spoken about in terms of self-care, but really is at a meaningful level doesn't really help. Emily Lees, she's an autistic SLT who's incredible. She's going to talk to you about autistic and neurodivergent communication.
Her pronouns are she, her, in case anyone was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. She's going to clear it up. God. Did you do this half an hour before we went online?
I did this slide earlier on today. I just didn't proofread it.
Okay. Joe McMeekin. You know Joe more than me.
Jo is a specialist sensory physiotherapist. She's also one of the very rare breeds of neurophysiotherapists. So she does a lot of work with children and young people who have brain injuries, acquired brain injuries. She's also a parent professional with neurodivergent children. She's neurodivergent herself. She's one of my favorite humans on earth. You might have seen me speaking with her. I've had her on lives a couple of times. What she doesn't know about sensory integration and the relationship it has with your physical body, which is really important, which sounds really obvious, but sometimes we talk about sensory integration as this like ethereal experience, but she's really good at tying that into what does that mean in terms of, you know, how you hold yourself, what your posture's like, you know, what activities you need before you're going to embark on something. She's incredible. So yeah, she's going to come and do some stuff on sensory integration and kind of like the physical side of showing up in the world. She is absolutely incredible. I really rate her. Kim Roberts.
You talk about Kim.
Kim is a mentor with Gecko community. If you've worked with Gecko, you may have come across Kim. They are incredible. They're a neurodivergent wellbeing mentor. They worked as a nanny for almost 20 years, and they also run the Queer Parenting Partnership. They do a lot of work in advocacy for trans and queer parents, and what they have to tell and share with you about being a late identified autistic and having been on a journey through misdiagnosis with mental health diagnoses is really interesting. So they have a lot to say about masking and identity, and they're really, really wise when it comes to helping children and young adults especially unpick their own identity. Yeah. Talk about Tara.
Tara, my partner in crime over at Neuroclastic. Any pronouns for Tara, by the way, completely gender vague. They are going to talk to you about they don't know this, but I'm going to get them to talk to you about the very grand emotions and the way that autistic and otherwise neurodivergent people too, but specifically autistic people, our primary emotions tend to be our values, and that can throw up some differences and some confusion and difficulty being in the world when we realize that other people aren't living like we are or holding those values so close. I'm going to get Tara to come and talk to you about that, because I think that might blow your mind.
Yeah, it will blow your mind.
And just, I would, listening to Tara talk about anything, it's just awesome. And Lynn Wall, last but not least, is supervising transactional analyst and integrative psychotherapist. She's my kind of TA conference buddy. So we end up being the autistic therapist at TA conferences, talking about sensory and just walking through the world differently and not pathologizing neurodivergence. She is one of the most compassionate and warm, wise people I know. And if I could give everyone a therapist, I would give them Lynn. But
this is how good Lynn is. I pay Lynn to be my child's therapist. That's how good they are.
I'm also supposed to tell Lynn not to take any more clients.
So people are asking, how do we sign up? That's good to know. I'm going to tell you how much it is, obviously. Oh, this is what's included. Sorry. 12 weeks of live training, lifetime replay access, exclusive Facebook community, a fortnightly bonus Zoom, and expert Q&A. So all the people we've just talked about there, we've got 12 weeks of training. Some of those trainings will be delivered by those guest trainers. And then in addition to that, we've got a fortnightly bonus Zoom. And some of those will be led as Q&As with those guests. Sometimes there'll be a reflection space. Sometimes there'll be a social. So it's a really good mix. And you can dip in and dip out as you wish. There's no expectation for you to have cameras on to talk. Equally, if you're a talker and you're a look at me like I am, show up as you are. We include all of that. Also, you get 3 months membership for the OTAS Instincts membership at Send Family Instincts. That's worth £90. You get access to all of my webinar replays. We'll upload them all to your library. So that's all of my historical webinars. That's worth 200 quid. And you get a live webinar pass for the duration of NeuroCurious. So any webinars that we run during the next 3 months, you'll get a free pass for. So we do also have a VIP option. So on top of all of that, on top of the weekly content, the guest expert slots, the online library, the Send Family Instincts membership, the free seats in the webinars, if you would like a VIP option, we have made that available. We only have 4 slots because of mine and Kate's availability. So in the VIP option, you get a monthly one-to-one coaching call with myself and or Kate for the 3 months. So we don't make those available as a standalone product currently. The only way to get into that is through the VIP option. And you'll also get email support from myself and Kate during the course. So we'll be in the Facebook community. We'll be supporting everybody. But if you feel you just need a little bit more and you want a little bit more one-to-one and a little bit more access to myself and Kate, then the VIP option is the way to do that. If you're watching this and you're like, I know I want this, comment I'm in and we'll make sure that you get a link as soon as the booking link is live. But I'm going to show you how much it costs. Okay. So our standard package, which is the 12 weeks of content, the guest expert slots, the fortnightly Zoom, the exclusive Facebook community, you can read that. The password protected online library, the Send Family Instincts membership, the webinar library, the free seats on all the live webinars. The price on that is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or you can pay in 3 installments if you want. So it's 3 monthly installments of £160. If you want the VIP space, which is all of that on the left-hand side, plus your monthly one-to-one coaching call with Kate or I or both of us for 3 months, and your email support with Kate and me for the duration of the course, then the cost on that is £999 or 3 monthly installments of £340. So you can choose which suits you best. We start next week. We need a subtitle. Did the subtitle just say fart nicely instead of fortnightly? Did it really?
It's Yorkshire, isn't it?
Amazing. I'm having that. Yeah, so it's a community space that is exclusive to the NeuroCurious community. So it will be quite a small cohort. Like I said, we only have four more VIP spaces, and we're capping the number of people who join us. So if you know that you want a spot, we're putting spaces on sale at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we start next Thursday, the 22nd. We'll post a link here for you to book. We'll also send the details out to my email list and to everyone who was on the 5-day challenge. And if you know you definitely want a spot, if you comment I'm in, I will make sure that I comment with a booking link for you before 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, so you can get straight in there, especially if you want VIP, because there are only 4 spaces. And we would like to make more available, but we just do not have the capacity. So
you have to cap that at 10 for the course because of the coaching.
Yeah, because we have to obviously make room for you. The sessions will be Thursday night at are we doing 8 o'clock or 7:30? Have we decided?
8.
We're doing Thursday nights at 8 o'clock every week starting next week. If you can't join us live, you can watch on replay, and you will get all of that uploaded to your library within 24 hours of it being live. Beth, I'm in. Excellent, Beth. I will make sure you have a booking link. And our bonus sessions are going to be on, what night did we say they were?
Mondays.
Monday nights. So our fortnightly Zooms, we'll publish a schedule in the group, and you'll get it on your online library as well. So it's every Thursday night and then alternate Mondays for the extra bonus content. And, you know, if it's anything like Unstoppable Parents, we won't be able to stop ourselves, and we'll be jumping in all the time and delivering extra stuff and throwing extra things at you. And we're really excited. We're really proud of it. So let's give away some free stuff. And then let's call it a night, because I want to go and watch Bake Off. So for those of you who did the 5-day challenge, and don't worry, I'm going to put the slide up again at the end with all the prices again. For those of you who did the 5-day challenge, if you're watching along live, tell me that you were a challenger. Just put challenger in the comments, or not. I'm not the boss of you. Paula says Beth is definitely in. I'm in, says Beth. I'm in. Drum roll. Okay, so we had a challenge this week. Everyone who completed the 5-day challenge, we did a draw earlier on. We decided not to do it live because I couldn't make the tech work, but we did it together. So our first prize was a community engagement prize. So it was something for the person who really threw themselves into the challenge. It was an extra bonus prize for one member of our community who really got stuck in. We are giving you a box of fair trade chocolates and a copy of my Unstoppable Parent Notebook, which I still need to post. But anyway, I'll get on it. Don't worry. And the winner is, drum roll, please, Ellie Rumsby, who was quick off the mark every single time we put a challenge up. She was like in there. So Ellie is a member of our Unstoppable Parent community, and she is already signed up for NeuroCurious. So we're really delighted that Ellie won our community engagement. And for all of you who took part in the challenge and added people in and invited people to join and tagged us, we are super, super grateful, because we were a little bit worried that we weren't going to reach people, and you really helped us. And I think I might have spelled Ellie's name incorrectly and put a double L-Y, but hey, at least I didn't call you a fart or Tigger. So congratulations, Ellie. I don't know if you're a single L or a double L. Is she a single L or a double L? She might be a double L. So our next is our third prize. So everyone who completed the 5-day challenge, we put you all in a draw, and we've got 3 prizes. So the third prize is the Fair Trade Chocolates, an Unstoppable Parent Notebook, and an EOTAS Matters webinar pass worth £200. So you'll get an access to an online library with all of that in there. And the winner is, drum roll please, Jane Wilson. I think Jane is a relatively new member of the community.
I think I saw Jane say that she had to go and would watch this on catch up, so she's going to like that.
Yeah, there you go. If anyone knows Jane, please tag her and let her know that she's won one of our prizes. Our next prize is Fair Trade Chocolates, Unstoppable Parent Workbook, EOTAS Webinar Pass, and a £25 Amazon voucher. And the winner is Emma.
Yay.
The lovely Emma. So she's Emma on Facebook, which is why I put Emma. But Emma, you know who you are, and we will get in touch, and you will have your prizes in due course. And then our first prize is Fair Trade Chocolate, Unstoppable Parent Notebook, EOTAS Matters Webinar Pass, a £50 voucher, and a one-to-one call with me. And our winner is Amy Lastring. I think Amy's a newer, I can't remember. But anyway, congratulations to all of our winners. We're really pleased to be able to give you some goodies. So if you are watching this and you're thinking, yes, I definitely want in, I'm definitely joining. If you're humming and hawing and you've got questions.
I'm so glad you did that.
This is us being super professional in our giraffe outfits. I think it captures the spirit of how we deliver. Contrary to what this image might be telling you, we are very good at what we do. So we are excited to have you join us. Again, here's a rundown. If you know that you want to be in the cohort, comment I'm in for a booking link, and make sure that you do that as soon as. If you're humming and hawing and not sure if it's for you or not, and you have questions, come on over into the group. Paula, I'm well disappointed. Paula, if you'd won, you would have been cross. Well, I was nervous about you winning because I didn't know how we were going to take it. Amy's
I mean,
pleased.
we'd have broken your trust
We
massively.
would have done. So if you're thinking that you want to be in, but you've got questions, come on over into our group over the next 6 days before we actually go live next Thursday. We will be talking more and doing frequently asked questions and helping everyone work out whether they can make this work for them. Claudia, I'm off to buy chocolates. They're all very grumpy about it now. One thing I did want to say is that if this is something that you really, really need, and the payment plans are not quite accessible for you, send me an email and we will have a conversation. So you can see the quality of the speakers that we've got. It's priced because we're paying all of our guests, because we believe that when you're making work for the autistic community, you should pay people from the autistic community. But we do have some flexibility for a couple of people if you need it, and if you need us to help you with the affordability of it over the time that you pay. So if you need to do that, send me an email. It's hello@eotasmatters.co.uk. I don't need your life story. Just send me a message saying I could do with spreading the payments. It's not something we can offer everybody, but it is something we can offer people if that's something that you need it, and we would rather have that happen than that you miss out. This course will run again, but not until the back end of next year. So it's only going to be a once a year offering. So we would love to have some of you with us. And if you want to join Beth and comment I'm in separately, then please feel free to do that. But yeah, for now, I think that's all we want to share with you tonight. We're very excited. We will be doing questions and answers in the group about NeuroCurious. And watch this space for next week for us telling you more about what's coming, and maybe some sessions with some of our guests. Beth, yes, join me. She's in. I think we get it, Beth. I think we get it. You're in. Right. Brilliant. Okay. She's in. I will make sure you have a booking link tomorrow morning before 9 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I hope you found this helpful. If you sign up for the 5-day challenge, you will get a replay on this. And we will see you very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.